From Barron's, move over in New York. These fast-growing cities are the new economic powerhouses. In the article, over recent decades, a sort of stasis took hold where the locus of power in America resided in four metropolitan areas, each representing an economic or societal power. New York with Wall Street and finance, Washington, D.C. with the federal government and politics, Los Angeles with entertainment and media, and the San Francisco Bay Area with technology. These four cities vied for power and influence over one another, but more to the point, they embodied the nation's status quo, dominating much of our economy and steering both our domestic and international agendas. Now those four legacy metro areas are being joined and to an extent eclipsed by a cohort of new, fast-growing power centers such as Houston with its energy economy, Dallas and its diversified base, Nashville with healthcare and tech, and Miami as a burgeoning financial center and gateway to Latin America. Competition between old legacy cities and these upstarts is both the latest incarnation of pre-existing frictions and the emergence of new elements. The implications of this power shift are myriad and yet to be determined. It could portend in some sense a return to pre-digital America, where the Farm Belt, and in particular the Industrial Belt, held equal sway with New York financiers and Washington technocrats and lawmakers. As economic power flows to the middle of the country, it could make the U.S. stronger and more diversified, like a company that makes successful strategic acquisitions. Or it could further divide the U.S. along economic, political, and geographic lines. An economic shift to the Sun Belt has been taking place since Willis Carrier invented modern air conditioning in 1902. What's different now is that newer cities are beginning to approach parity with establishment centers, not always in terms of metro area gross domestic product, at least not yet, but certainly in terms of influence and growth. COVID also accelerated decentralization of all sorts. Significantly for Barron's readers, this new dynamic informs countless transactions and business decisions every day, including everything from commodity prices to real estate moves to state tax policies. Yes, there's a red state, blue state dichotomy at work here, as well as a variety of domestic and global forces. These cities are emblematic to a degree. You could argue that the Bay Area technology hub extends to Seattle, home of Amazon. And there are a number of other power centers, including Denver, Phoenix, and Atlanta. No one is suggesting that Manhattan or Beverly Hills, for that matter, are going to become irrelevant. But the bottom line is this: the gravitational center of economic and societal power in America is dramatically shifting, most likely for the long haul. Quote, you used to have two coastal power zones where you could live your best life, never really touching down in the red states, says historian Neil Ferguson, now at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. We now have much more of a multipolar America rather than a bipolar America. That reflects taxes, quality of life, cost of living, the ability to build, and incredibly striking differentials in quality of governance. If you talk to people who have done the great relocation, they'll tell you how much better things are done in Miami or Palm Beach or Austin or Dallas. The dynamic four is listed here. Dallas saw biggest jump in population last year of any metro area. Its local airports now serve 148 U.S. and 55 international cities, and it's the nation's biggest landlocked metro at 9,000 square miles. It's bigger than 6 states. Houston, also Texas, home of 25 Fortune 500 companies, second only to New York City, fifth biggest U.S. metro. Port of Houston is largest by tonnage in the U.S. Miami, headquarters of Latin American operations for more than 1,100 multinational companies. Airport is number one U.S. for loaded and unloaded international freight. Notes that Jeff Bezos just moved there. And we have Nashville, 500 healthcare companies based there. Business hub for Amazon, Oracle, Meta. Most famous skyscraper is AT&T's Batman building. Article goes on. CEOs have been voting with their feet. Texas now has the most Fortune 500 company headquarters of any state with 55. The state's two largest cities, Houston and Dallas, are delivering a 1-2 punch of growth. Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington has the biggest jump in population last year, followed by Houston. Speaking of Dallas, quote, it's on fire right now. Dallas is inexpensive, energy, massive entrepreneurship, and a very permissible regulatory environment. They've now got more renewables coming out than California, which 10 years ago was insane to think about. They've also got all the fracking that's going on. The U.S. is producing more fossil fuel right now than at any point in history. It's something that Biden doesn't like to talk about because it isn't aligned with the progressive base, but it's true. And if it wasn't for that, our prices would be a lot higher. With a population of 7.9 million, up from less than a million in 1950, Dallas-Fort Worth not only has energy companies and AT&T, but also California Transplants, McKesson, Jacobs Solution, Charles Schwab. Going on to Houston, population 7.3 million, now has more Fortune 500 companies, 25 than any say other than New York, including ExxonMobil, Phillips 66, ConocoPhillips, Halliburton. Also home to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Johnson Space Center. Houston is a longstanding player in space and now boasts a new spaceport. You can also track the shift to the new power cities by following the money. Bloomberg recently reported that California and New York State each lost some $1 trillion of assets as financial firms moved to lower tax states such as Florida and Texas. Goldman Sachs is constructing a $3 billion campus just outside downtown Dallas, which will bring as many as 5,000 jobs to the city. AB has moved its headquarters from New York to Nashville. As for South Florida, while positioning itself as a crypto hub hasn't particularly panned out, a number of fiat-based firms have relocated to the Miami area, including hedge fund Citadel from Chicago and Icon Enterprises and Paul Singer's Elliott Investment Management, which both decamped from New York to West Palm Beach, and Kathy Wood's ARC Investment Management, which moved from New York to St. Petersburg, Florida. This financial influx has added to an already diversifying Miami metro, now with a population of 6.1 million. The area attracts retirees and tourists, but just as significant and less visible is a flood of companies that have set up shop or are expanding operations. Many have so doing to pursue businesses in Latin America, such as Cisco, Hilton Worldwide Holdings, Bacardi, and Club Med. Quote, the blue states have lost the plot. 500,000 people have left New York State since 2020 because we are more interested in virtue signaling than addressing tough problems. Scaramucci goes on to say, quote, he'll be one of the last guys to turn out the lights in New York City, and says he knows a number of people who have moved to Nashville, Miami, Dallas, and Houston, and they, quote, feel like fish out of water. They miss the cosmopolitan nature of New York or San Francisco, he says. And the article concludes, what makes a city or region appealing is ultimately a combination of factors, including culture, political leanings, and services. Right now, at least, the pull of strong economics is enough to drive the growth of these new business hubs. The commentary on concluding the article. The article doesn't mention this, but certainly one of the things that also could be driving this is the move away from China. We are seeing reshoring going on of some production. That certainly could help areas out in the middle of the country. It does seem that if we continue to see some manufacturing moving back to North America, that Texas would seem to be a natural winner of that, with low wage manufacturing possibly going to Mexico, higher end manufacturing being located in the states on the other side of the border. You had the port facilities, energy infrastructure, lots of developable land. And it seems to be almost a surefire thing that we can expect Texas and states around there to benefit. Article also does mention, but doesn't really focus too much on it, just the role of being business friendly. But certainly anybody who compares, say, Texas to California is going to note a huge difference in your ability to manufacture or conduct business, with one state making it very difficult to do so and another state being much more accommodative to that. So public policy does seem to be playing a role in this, but we also have geopolitics playing a role in this. And it seems like these trends most likely have a ways to run.